You're not invited, Karen sneered as I walked into the brand new high-rise condo. It was the boss mom taunting me. But I had my chance to strike back. Thank you for your service, I said, and her face changed. I decided it was time to tell her the truth. I'm Meredith, just a regular stay-at-home mom, living with my husband Bob and our daughter Erin. Our everyday life, striving to protect and support my family, brings me great happiness. This year, my daughter started kindergarten. While I had concerns about her going, she quickly made friends and seemed to enjoy herself. That was a few months ago, and watching her grow has been a relief. I've also made new connections at her kindergarten, mom friends as they're called. However, not all my interactions were fun and carefree. Some moms tried to assert dominance. I've managed to avoid these types, but for my daughter's sake, I couldn't ignore them completely. I had to engage in polite conversation, at least superficially. Among these moms was the so-called boss mom, Karen. According to the other moms, Karen was a stay-at-home mom whose husband made good money and she loved bragging about it. Good morning, Meredith. Still wearing the same old clothes, I see, Karen called out as I dropped off my daughter. Good morning, I replied, forcing a smile and trying to walk past her. But she moved in front of me. I just got back from an overseas trip. The hotel was incredibly luxurious. Here, take this souvenir, she said, shoving a fancy-looking box of sweets at me. Refusing a gift would result in complaints, and giving a mediocre one in return, as a thank you, would lead to endless nagging. Reluctantly, I accepted it. Thank you, I said, and Karen smiled satisfied. I tried to leave, but she called out, Hey, about your daughter Erin. Is she always dressed like that? Yes, why? I asked. Don't you think she looks too shabby? It's a bit pitiful. I can't stand seeing her like that. Please dress her better next time. Internally, I seethed, thinking that's none of her business whatsoever. I've never been particular about clothes, so I let my daughter wear what she wants. If I didn't, she'd cry and scream. But she has her own preferences and always picks her outfits with a big smile, which I find adorable. There was no point in explaining this to Karen, so I just smiled politely. My daughter always wears clothes from famous children's brands. If you need, I could give you some of her hand-me-downs. You should also pay more attention to your appearance. You look like an old lady, and don't fit in with the kindergarten vibe, Karen said, pinching my sleeve with a disdainful look. Annoyed, I kept my composure, knowing it would be troublesome to argue. Rumors spread quickly among mom friends, and I didn't want to get involved in that network. That's how I found out that Karen bragged about her high-earning husband. But honestly, the kindergarten network felt suffocating to me. Still, I wouldn't take away my daughter's happy place. I decided to just be polite and find a way to leave, saying, I have something to do. I didn't forget to thank Karen for the gift. She still looked like she had more to say, but I didn't care. The next day, Karen gathered a group of well-dressed moms. I sensed trouble and tried to pass by, but they surrounded me. I gave a slight nod and tried to pass by, but Karen and her entourage surrounded me like predators. Good morning, Meredith. Guess what? I moved into a brand new high-rise. Have you ever seen the inside of one? Karen started bragging. I need to drop off my daughter, I said, trying to walk past her. Karen frowned and said, Then let's talk later. She clearly didn't want to let me go. Knowing it would be more bragging, I said, I have plans today, and declined. She clearly gave me an annoyed look. Then she blatantly stared at my daughter from head to toe. You didn't listen to me, did you? Karen snapped. I'm sorry? I told you, dressing your daughter poorly is unfair to her. No matter how poor you are, don't make your daughter suffer. Karen, who had been cheerful moments ago, became annoyed when she realized I wasn't listening. She started criticizing everything from my clothes to my lifestyle. I held back the urge to snap back. Is this a ball or something? And just muttered, uh-huh. Karen wasn't satisfied and sought agreement from the other moms, who also looked at us judgmentally. Is there something wrong with my outfit? Erin asked me, looking worried. She loved dressing up, and today she had carefully chosen a pink skirt and a frilly collared shirt. To me, she looked adorable. I can't help but think my daughter is a genius with her improving sense of style every day. I reassured her. Of course not, honey. You look cute, especially in your favorite skirt. Erin smiled, but Karen remained displeased seeing our exchanges. I'm sorry, we'll be late, I said, pushing past the group and walking Erin to our classroom. I could feel Karen's glare on my back. Later, I heard from a friendly mom that Karen was hosting a party at her high-rise. There's even a dress code requiring glamorous outfits, something you'd never see at house parties. Only wealthy families from the kindergarten were invited to Karen's party. Looking at the names, their husbands worked for foreign companies or came from wealthy families. The dress code was obviously to filter guests by their status. It seemed ridiculous to greet such a money-obsessed person daily, especially when she constantly made snide remarks. Today, she had insulted my daughter's clothes right in front of her. It was infuriating. I couldn't take it anymore. A mom friend asked, Are you invited to Karen's party? But of course I wasn't. Even if I had been, I wouldn't have wanted to go to a party just to hear more of Karen's bragging. Meanwhile, Erin was arranging her favorite clothes. We're visiting Trevor's house, right? I need to dress up. You really do like him, don't you? I teased, and she blushed. Seeing my adorable daughter, I couldn't understand how Karen could say such cruel things. If her daughter were insulted by someone, she wouldn't feel good about it either. Trevor is really fast at running. He's never been caught in tag. Then, let's pick out a special outfit for you, I suggested. Yes, she replied. Seeing my daughter smile eased my troubled mind. Since starting at that kindergarten, she had grown so much. Her speech had developed from single words to sentences, and now she even had a little crush. I couldn't forgive Karen for looking down on my daughter. I was determined to say something to her the next time we met. A few days later, I took my daughter to a high-rise condo. We were invited by Trevor's mom, one of her classmates. As we entered through the automatic doors and walked down the hallway, the door in front of us suddenly opened. There stood Karen, the boss mom, in a glamorous dress with her long hair elegantly styled. Her designer shoes and sprawling accessories were obviously expensive. She saw me and froze, her eyes wide. I was equally surprised and stared back. We stood there, staring at each other for a few seconds before she spoke. What are you doing here? She said with clear hostility. Instinctively, I stepped in front of my daughter. Hello, Karen, I said. She snorted and sneered at me. Are you here for the party? She asked. Oh. I remembered that today was the day of her party. I replied, No, I'm not. Karen just stared at me without saying a word, her face full of contempt. You're not invited, she said with a malicious grin. Taken aback, I stammered. Well? Karen, sensing an opportunity, began to insult me vigorously. Who invited you? It's absurd to let someone like you into this building. Don't worry, whoever invited you won't be doing it again. Who was it? When I said no one invited me, she frowned and glared at me. Then why are you here? Just to look around? You can't be thinking of moving in here with your daughter dressed like that. Don't lower the quality of the place. Karen was visibly irritated. Even if I had been invited, I wouldn't have attended her party. If she lived in this building, I certainly wouldn't choose to live here. I'm not here for the party, nor am I here to look around, I said calmly. But Karen wouldn't back down. People like you don't belong in a place like this. Leave now and don't come back, she said hysterically. As I looked at Karen, I felt my head cool down. Since my daughter started kindergarten, Karen had been bullying us. She even insulted my daughter. This was my chance to fight back. Smiling, I said, "Thank you for your service." Karen looked at me, bewildered. "What are you talking about?" "This building is owned and managed by me," I said. "I'm glad you like it enough to hold your party here, so I wanted to thank you." Karen stood there, stunned. After a few moments, she began to understand and turned pale. You're joking. It's not funny. Are you saying this high-rise is yours?" She glared at me as she said this. I was about to respond when my daughter stepped out from behind me and looked up at Karen. "It's true. We're here to visit Trevor, not you. We need to go, so please move," Erin said confidently. My daughter must have understood the hostility Karen directed at us. Karen, clearly shaken, still showed hostility. "Your daughter is as rude as you," she muttered weakly. Her usual authority was gone. Feeling emboldened, I continued. "I actually manage several high-rises besides this one. My husband runs several companies, and I help with the management. They're not as famous as your husband's company, but I manage high-rises and hotels in the city. They're all on my husband's land. Thanks to his hard work, we live comfortably. We should both be grateful to our husbands." Karen's face turned red with anger. "Then why do you dress so poorly?" she snapped. "I've never been concerned with fashion, but my daughter loves her clothes. She likes to dress comfortably for kindergarten, but today she's wearing something special. This outfit is from a brand your daughter wears too. It's their latest collection." My daughter struck a pose as I said that. "Isn't it cute? She loves this brand." Karen looked at my daughter's outfit, her eyes wide with surprise. Incidentally, my daughter's favorite brand is quite expensive, almost too much for children's clothes. I'm not particularly concerned with fashion, so her clothes often cost more than mine. The brand Karen had offered us hand-me-downs from was actually the same brand. She probably never imagined that we could afford such clothes, but our home is filled with them. Her attempt to assert dominance was way off the mark. It must have been embarrassing for her. I struggled to keep from grinning. "Well, you weren't there when I signed the lease," Karen said, trying to catch me in a lie. "You're just trying to rattle me, aren't you?" I remembered that my husband had handled the key exchange. "The man who gave me the keys was in a suit with big brown eyes," she insisted loudly, accusing me of lying. Unbeknownst to me, the other moms Karen had invited were watching us from down the hall. "I'm going to tell everyone you're a liar," she said triumphantly. I sighed, which seemed to irritate her even more. "Do you have anything to say?" she screeched. "Is this the man you're talking about?" I showed her a photo on my phone of me, my daughter, and my husband on vacation. She stared at the picture, stunned. "I have more. He's my husband. I have plenty of family photos to prove it." I showed her several more vacation photos, each one featuring my husband. Karen was speechless, her body tense. "Do you believe me now? We need to get going." Karen, desperate, shouted, "You think having money makes you better than me? You're trying to ruin my reputation, aren't you? You liar." She started grabbing things, her shoes, items from her foyer, and throwing them at me. I shielded my daughter, letting everything hit my back, but never letting go of her. The sound of shoes and objects hitting the floor echoed through the hall. The other moms rushed over to restrain Karen. Even neighbors stepped out to see what the commotion was about. It turned into a bigger scene than I expected, but seeing Karen disheveled and defeated brought me some satisfaction. Afterward, rumors spread about our altercation, and Karen became isolated among the other moms. Her usual overbearing behavior had already made her unpopular. Some of the items she threw belonged to other moms who demanded compensation. Her outburst branded her as a dangerous person, causing her to lose her social standing completely. What a miserable ending for her. A few months later, I heard that Karen's husband had filed for divorce. She had been spending his money recklessly, and after this incident, even the other residents had turned against her. Since she didn't have a stable job, she lost custody of her child and ended up living alone in a shabby apartment, working part-time at a grocery store. I thought it was just a rumor until I saw her working at a supermarket in the neighboring town. Seeing her in such a state, I felt that she had brought it upon herself. Meanwhile, I continued to live happily with my daughter and husband, who regularly takes us on trips and shows us how much he loves us. Every day is truly blissful. I hope that this incident has made Karen reconsider her ways, even if just a little.